Hey everyone, I'm Traffy, and today we'll be explaining the life of Shinobu Kocho, the Insect Hashira. Shinobu was born as the youngest daughter within the Kocho household, living alongside her mother, father, and older sister Kanae, until her parents were slaughtered by demons right before her and her sister's eyes. But before they suffered the same fate, the stone Hashira, Gyome, saved them. As a result, Shinobu and Kanae both promised to become demon slayers to protect each other, as well as prevent others from enduring the same pain they experienced. Later in her life, while accompanying her sister Kanae on a trip, they encountered a young girl being led away as a slave on a bridge. Kanae took an interest, and Shinobu purchased the girl from her master. They named her Kanao and trained her at the butterfly estate to become the next Suguko, a designated apprentice and eventual successor of a Hashira. Then, a few years later, Kanae ran into the upper rank 2 of the 12 Kizuki, Doma. She was fatally wounded during the encounter, and as she's in Shinobu's arms, she tries to convince her sister to leave the Demon Slayer corpse to live a normal life. But Shinobu is dead set on avenging her. Following her passing, Shinobu became the master of the butterfly estate and treated the girls as if they were her own little sisters. Eventually, she became a high-ranking demon slayer, being known as the Insect Hashira. During the Natagumo mountain arc, Shinobu is present when Ubuyashiki hears the news of the situation on the mountain, and she's given the order to travel there to assist the lower-ranked swordsmen. Acknowledging this, Shinobu states that it would be great if everyone could get along, regardless if they're human or not, and asks Giyu if he agrees, but he calls it a fantasy. Later, both Shinobu and Giyu arrive on the mountain and see the fallen demon slayers. They decide to split up, and Shinobu proceeds from the west. She runs into Zenitsu and injects him with an antidote, saving him from the demon's poison. She then suddenly appears behind the daughter of the spider demon family, asking her if her threads come out from her palms, and commenting on the beauty of the moon. Stunned, the demon attacks her with her strings, but Shinobu easily dodges. The daughter demon begs her for mercy, stating that she's being forced to do this by Rui, the youngest son. Shinobu tells her they can be friends, but she has to ask a few questions first. She asks the demon for her human kill count, to which she replied with 5 kills. Shinobu knows she's lying, and says she's devoured at least 80 humans. Since she explored the mountain from the west, she saw many cocoons on the way, counting at least 40 dead people. When asked what the point of confirming this info is, Shinobu tells her that in order for them to be friends and satisfy those who died, she'll have to endure the proper punishment. She explains in detail that for every person she's killed, she'll be tortured, and after she's suffered through the pain and agony, she can be forgiven. Enraged, the demon abruptly attacks Shinobu. She dodges and uses her insect-breathing butterfly dance, Caprice. The demon believes she's fine since her head is still intact, but Shinobu kills her with wisteria poison, introducing herself as the Insect Hashira, and the only one among them who's unable to decapitate demons. She then saves Murata from a cocoon, who realizes he's naked once she points it out. Afterwards, Shinobu went in search of Rui, and instead attacked Tanjiro and Nezuko, but her attack was deflected by Giyu. She questions his interference after he just protected a demon, and turns her attention to Tanjiro, telling him to move. He tells her that Nezuko is his sister, causing Shinobu to take pity on her and plan to kill her with a painless death. Giyu then instructs Tanjiro to run, which Shinobu notes to be against Demon Slayer conduct. Instead of fighting Giyu, she flees to pursue Tanjiro, but Giyu restrains her with his arm. Shinobu says she'd been in the right to come and kill demons, asking him what his intent was. Giyu replies that it started 2 years ago, but she wonders if he was holding a grudge because she said he was hated. And just as Shinobu reveals a hidden blade from her right shoe to attack Giyu, they're stopped by a crow with an important message, which said that Tanjiro and Nezuko are to be restrained and brought back to headquarters. Later, Tanjiro wakes up to see Shinobu alongside her fellow Hashira. She tells Tanjiro where he is and that he's on trial for a violation of Demon Slayer conduct. The Serpent Hashira points out that Giyu also committed a crime and asks how they'll deal with him. Shinobu tells him they'll think of punishment later, since she's more interested in hearing Tanjiro's story. She proceeds to give him a painkiller to help him talk with a broken jaw, and listens to his story, until he's interrupted by the appearance of Sanemi, who has Nezuko's box. She warns him not to act out of line, but he ignores the warning and stabs Nezuko. Shortly after, their leader Ubuyashiki arrives, causing her and her fellow Hashira to bow in respect. Shinobu watches silently as the other Hashira argue about Tanjiro's situation. Once the trial concludes, Shinobu suggests they take care of Tanjiro at her place, instructing the Kakushi to take them away. The Butterfly Estate is the manor that Shinobu, Kanao, and her assistants live in. It's often used as a recovery base for injured demon slayers. The majority of healing is done by Shinobu, but there are also attendants known as Kakushi, who run errands and help watch over the injured. After the Hashira meeting, Shinobu spoke with Rengoku, who was heading into battle with a potential upper-rank demon, a demon we know as Akaza. She tells him to be careful before leaving. Shinobu then arrives at the Butterfly Estate, where Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Tanjiro were recovering. While training, Tanjiro learned that Kanao is able to do full focus breathing even while sleeping, and he attempts to learn it as well. 15 days into his full focus training, Shinobu appears before him. She tells him that the reason she brought him there was to entrust her dream, a dream to get along with demons. But Tanjiro asks her if she's angry, because she smells as if she's always angry, even though she's smiling. Shinobu explains that ever since her sister died, the anger inside her has continued to grow larger towards demons. She tells him that her sister Kanae sympathizes with demons, even on the verge of her own death. Shinobu has repulsive feelings she can't do anything about, and so she entrusts Tanjiro with her sister's dream, keeping it alive. The Infinity Castle arc. Shinobu and the other Hashira get alerted by a crow that the Ubuyashiki estate is under attack. They rush to the estate, and the first to arrive is Gyome. While he fights Muzan, the other Hashira arrive, and they all attack him with their respective breathing styles. But before their attacks land, they get transported into the Infinity Castle and are separated. Inside the castle, Shinobu walks into a room where she sees Upper Moon 2, Doma, eating a group of females. The same demon who killed her sister, Kanae. One of his disciples, still alive, begs Shinobu to save her, and Doma tries to finish her off, only for Shinobu to jump in and save her. She asks her if she's okay, but before she can answer, she explodes and dies right in front of her eyes. Angered by this, Shinobu notices a pair of fans that Doma uses as his weapon, and angrily asks if he remembers the haori she's wearing that belonged to her sister. Doma finally remembers her by the butterfly wing design and refers to her as the flower-breathing girl. He expresses his regret at not being able to eat Kanae due to the sun, which further angers Shinobu. She launches an attack using her insect-breathing Dance of the Bee's sting, stabbing his right eye, which impresses him since he couldn't block it. He tells her that she needs to go for the neck instead. Then Shinobu's poison kicks in. However, Doma manages to decompose the poison until he becomes entirely resistant to it. Also, it's becoming increasingly difficult for Shinobu to breathe, an effect caused by Doma's blood demon art after it sucked her blood. Now betting on a large dose to kill him, Shinobu uses the Dance of the Dragonfly and successfully hits him. However, as she attacks, he simultaneously attacks her, cutting both her collarbone and ribs, puncturing one of her lungs. As Shinobu loses hope of victory, she draws out strength from her older sister's words in her head. Shinobu then prepares for a final attack. Despite her serious injuries, she uses insect-breathing Dance of the Centipede to confuse him. Shinobu cuts through his neck, impaling him and sending him flying towards the ceiling. As she falls, Shinobu begins thinking about Tanjiro calling her angry, stating that demons were the cause of everything. However, Doma recovers almost instantly from her attack. Now exhausted and dangerously near death, Shinobu is caught by Doma as they fall from the ceiling. He embraces her in a bear hug and begins mocking her, calling her attempt to defeat him a waste of effort, assuring her she'll live peacefully as part of him. Doma asks for any last words, and Shinobu tells him to go to hell. In the end, she's absorbed by Doma just as her disciple Kanao arrives, causing Kanao to go berserk in an attempt to save her, only to be repelled by Doma, who tells her not to interfere when he's absorbing someone. After successfully absorbing Shinobu, the only thing left is her butterfly-shaped hairpiece. Later, it turns out that she predicted her death at Doma's hand. Thus, with Tamayo's help, she began to intake wisteria flower poison for over a year, in hopes that if Doma consumes her, he would also consume 37 kilograms worth of wisteria poison, nearly 700 times the lethal amount. Shinobu hoped that it would be enough to kill the upper rank, or at least weaken him enough to be killed by her allies. Ultimately, her plan works out, as Doma is weakened by the poison, and Kanao, along with Inosuke, manages to sever Doma's head from his body, fulfilling her revenge. In the afterlife, Shinobu greets Doma's head. Seeing he's died, she can finally pass on in peace. While conversing, Doma shows emotion by saying he's fallen in love with Shinobu, and asks her if she'd go to hell with him. She declines with a cruel smile. Shinobu is last seen with her sister, Kanae, giving their blessing to Kanao, before happily reuniting with their parents in the afterlife. But that's going to be it for the Life of Shinobu Kocho. Let me know what you thought about her story, and if you want to see more Demon Slayer videos like this, then make sure to like and subscribe, as it helps push my video in front of more Demon Slayer fans. But with that being said, I'm Traffy, and I'll see you in the next one.